Welcome to the Once a Cowboy, Always a Cowboy podcast, where you hear the history of Chaney football from the unique perspective of Coach Ron Burtis. Keelan, 2003 graduate, right?
Yeah.
Born and bred on the west side.
Yes, I was.
Vonnie Rogers.
Kirkmere. I went to Kirkmere, then to Vonnie, then to Chaney.
And we were talking the other day, and you said you wanted to start, and I think it'd be just a really good place, just kind of about your exposure to Chaney football. And
Yeah. No, I remember I was little. Well, my brother went to Chaney, and so
I don't think you were ever little.
No, you're right. I didn't make the weight for Little League. But I remember when I was little, my brother went to Chaney, and then the games we used to come on TV, all the City Series games, like Rand versus Wilson and Chaney versus East, and they would come on I think Sunday morning. And so that was like my first.
They did do that, yeah.
That was my first introduction. I remember seeing Clyde Morgan, John Cook, Ron Warga. I remember those guys playing, and so that's how I was like, okay, well, who are these guys? And all red, and that was my introduction into Chaney football, really. Yeah. That's how I started, and I would always root for Chaney because when my brother was going there, and so it was just natural for me to just root for him. But yeah, I used to watch those I think they would come on during the middle of the season, but then they would come on TV, and I would just sit there and watch, and that's how I got my introduction into the Chaney football brand.
Who'd you play for at Vonnie?
Oh, the Gesslers, man. That was with the Gesslers, and then so then when I went to Vonnie, you would have the players come. And
right.
I thought at the time that was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, dang, we get to go see the Cowboys play, and like I told you the other day, there was no bigger and better recruiting pitch to me than I felt like at the time we had the best player in the state of Ohio, Anthony Floyd. So I remember us going to go see the first game I got to go see really on the sidelines was Struthers. You guys played Struthers. I think they had Walter Reyes there at the time, who was a great running back, played at Syracuse. And but yeah, I remember going to that game, and I remember I think you guys were down at halftime. We were supposed to go in and hear your halftime speech, but I think Coach Bob Gessler told us, nah, we better not. I don't think it's going to be a...
So you opted for the concession stand.
We just had to stay on the sideline and watch the band. Coach Gessler was like, nah, we're not going to go in there. It's not going to be I don't think it's going to be a PG-13 speech he's going to give these guys. So then the next, I believe the next year you guys make the run for state. And then...
yeah, we had a couple goal line stands in that game, I believe.
Yeah. And I remember, I think Antoine ran it in for a touchdown on a bootleg, and it was a big win at the time. I remember.
And that would have been 97.
Yeah, 97. That's the year I went to state, and then and that was the year I made that playoff run. And I tell people all the time, man, Anthony Floyd was making catches like I was telling you, if YouTube and all that stuff was on back then, I mean, Anthony Floyd would have been nationally known because he was making catches that people see now, like, oh man, that was a great catch. I was like, hell, Anthony Floyd was doing that in 97. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
13.
So I remember, I just remember those times. I was like, man, I can't wait to get there and do what these guys are doing and playing in playoffs and going to state. And I remember to watch the Jesuit game. Y'all threw it to him like twice. The first time it didn't happen, then the second time he catches it, ran it in right before halftime. Mm-hmm. So I remember all those great plays he was making, and then like I said, going to see, and I remember you even came down to Vonnie and talked to us a couple times. You would come down there and give a little spiel, give a speech, and then you would go back up, and I guess coach had go back up to Chaney and get your coaching in. But yeah, I remember all that. And I was like I listened to the earlier podcast. I felt like that did build a great foundation and for us to come up there. And hell, I remember you even let us come up there and lift the 8th graders coming in.
Yeah.
We used to do. Yeah, and we used to come up there and we would lift. And I remember I would go and he would do the conditioning with y'all. and I would come up there and I would run with you guys. And so yeah, I remember all that. I remember, and I thought that was a great way, to keep it going. And of course, the Gesslers, they was always pushing Chaney and all that, so that was also a factor into it. But yeah, I remember that, and then I remember my freshman year, which was
Learning experience.
It was definitely one of those moments. Was like, do you like football or do you love football? Because that whole year was definitely, as you say, definitely was a learning experience. I was telling Coach Saunders the other day. I remember you. I remember you called home to my dad and asked him, would it be all right if your son stayed for doubles? And I remember that, and my dad was like, yeah, he'll be. I don't know if it was you or one of the coaches I remember called. They're like, Coach, I think Coach Burris wants him to stay for doubles. And he was like, yeah. My dad was all into it. Like, yeah, he'll be down there. So I remember after I practiced with the freshmen in the morning. Then you asked me, are you going to stay down with us, big dog? I was like, yeah, well, I'll be there. And then I went down there. The first practice and first day, I wasn't really, I was learning the plays and stuff. I wasn't in the starting lineup. And I always felt like the guys down there probably thought it was like a thing to give them a push to hopefully get them going. And then I remember like the second day, I was in there, and I remember he was like, okay, get the freshman in. And I was starting left guard. And I remember I didn't feel the tension then when I was first down there, but when you guys put me in that starting lineup, I could feel the tension from the other players.
Because it was so unusual for a freshman to be there. I mean, that hadn't happened since Matt Gilchrist in '90.
Yeah.
So.
And I also, like I was telling Coach Saunders, I was like, a lot of these guys that this was their first years really starting. Those guys that, and I, and I kind of understood their, tension towards me. Finally get to play, and here's this freshman kid,
right,
coming and playing and starting, and I still remember that time. I ain't gonna say no names, but I remember the time when one of the players got hurt and y'all put in somebody else. So when he got better, the other guy was doing a better job. But so instead of him taking it out on him trying to earn it, they would try to take it out on me. And so, yeah, there was a couple of those instances. And then I remember my dad, he always tells this story. I remember my dad was up by the fence and a parent came and talked to him, and he was just going on. They got this freshman playing, and my son's upset, and the other players seem like they're upset. My son said he wanted to quit, and all this, and then my dad said he finally asked him, "Who's your son?" That freshman you're talking about. so yeah, I knew there was a lot of tension going, but I think my mindset was just play and try not to mess up. I think that was like my whole mindset the whole season. Just try to hit the right guy on every play. Even if he beats me, just make sure you try to keep up with the right guy that year. But yeah, that was definitely a long year.
That was 99.
And so that was the year 4-6.
Yeah.
So it was struggle.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle for, just wins. And that was my first year too on varsity. So
yeah,
it was.
I think we only played 9 games.
No, we played 10.
Did we play 10?
Yeah, because the shed happened, but we ran back.
I know. Yeah, we played them during the playoff week.
Yeah. So yeah, we played 10.
98.
Y'all
You
played
went 7-2.
Yeah, y'all played 9 that year.
That was
okay.
Yeah, that was a 9-game season.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No.
But I knew I was at a serious program. I was telling him this story. I knew I was at a serious program that was about winning. I remember we scrimmaged Madonia. I forget what they was called.
Nordonia, yeah.
Nordonia.
And they whooped us. They beat us pretty soundly in all phases. And I remember we had we watched film in the gym that time, and you had the bleachers pulled out, and you was the only one sitting in the chair. You had your chair. And I remember we was going through the film, and you're and Coach Saunders, you're saying something, and Pope and Allen, Coach Mick, and all of them trying to coach us and tell us what we do wrong. You're just sitting there all quiet. The next thing I know, you get up out your chair, you throw it through, and the locker room door was open, so you throw it out the gym through the locker room door, and you walk out. Now, at the time, as a freshman, I ain't never seen nothing like this. I played football in Little League for Young Disciples, which is a church school that Tim Frog, Gary Price Frog made. So it wasn't nothing like that was going on, or even at Voney, the Gesslers, they wasn't throwing chairs or nothing like that. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember looking around, and I'm trying to get eye contact with one of the other players to see what's going on, but everybody's head was straight in front. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in there. And you was out there for about 5 minutes, and then you came in the far end of the gym. You come in, you pick up the clicker, and I'll never forget. I did that. You said, I did that so I wouldn't have to grab one of you soft asses. And he sat back down. He sat back down, and we going back through the field. And I was sitting there thinking, like, wow, what did I get myself into? I was thinking, and then that's when it hit me. I was like, man, A is all about serious about winning here. And so that was like my first introduction into really like, hey, this is a program that wants to win. But yeah, I remember that like yesterday, man. You picked up that chair and you threw it.
Well, it seemed like a good thing to do at the time.
Oh, you remember that? Because I just saying you don't remember.
I do remember.
See, I do not remember.
I do remember it.
You remember that? Yeah. So then, going through the season, we play Fitch first. We lose that one. And then we come back. I felt like we got a little better. We played Canfield. We beat Canfield. And then Boardman week. And I remember Boardman just destroying us. I think the score was like 26-7. Mm-hmm. Only reason why we got those 7 points is because Marcus Patton pulled a play out of his butt and ran and hit the guy and spun off and ran it in for a touchdown. And I remember going back that Saturday, we watched film, and then, as you used to call it, Black Monday. I remember that Monday it was gloomy that day, and I still remember hitting that sled. I told Coach Saunders that was like the worst football experience. Like out of everything I did through my whole career, through the rest of high school, through college, through the NFL, that was the hardest day I ever been put through. You remember that day when you made us hit the sled? I do. 5 perfect hits. And it wasn't like you was hitting the sled, and then it was like you hit the sled. You remember somebody would blow the whistle, and then you had a bear crawl with it. You remember that?
No, I do.
And I remember we had to hit it. And it wasn't like no quick whistle either. I remember we hit the sled, and it was... Then you blow the whistle, and we was bear crawling, still pushing it. And we get up, and you would look at us like, that ain't good enough. Back at 1. And I remember you was like, I need 5 perfect hits on this sled. And I remember we was on the freshman field.
Yeah, up top. Yeah.
Up top, and we was pushing it from the back of the fence where the houses were. We was pushing all the way down to the parking lot. And you be like, and you tell the receiver and stuff, push it around, turn it around. And we had to push it all the way back. I remember I didn't hit them all because I remember I fell out. I was out. I think I was the first one to fall out. And you was, because I said I didn't hear the second whistle. And I remember I was trying to run back in. I remember Coach Pope out of nowhere just grabs the back of my shoulder. No, get out. Get somebody else in there. And like you said, I remember dudes crying. And I mean, it was definitely a day I'll never forget. And I swear we had to hit it at least. It was definitely over 50. But it was an all practice thing. You remember that?
I remember because, so I'd have been probably 3-4 years out. So I mean, I was still young, you know, and I remember sitting there thinking like, my God, no, and it's like, dude, I won't say who, but I remember somebody bent over in the huddle crying, saying, I can't go anymore. I mean, it was, guys were looking for a way out. I mean, it was Black Monday because it was at Monday practice. Everybody thought, oh, we're going to come in and get some scouting report.
Yeah,
no.
Well, I think a point needs to be made on that. We were trying to get to where we thought we needed to be. I mean, because there was a history prior to that of things that kids that played before you went through, you know, running either on the track or doing on the field, and what we went through as players. And we understood that, you know, that, and it comes back to and I've said this in a number of podcasts, Red's attitude, you know, stick and stay, it'll pay. Those who stay will be champions. And we believe that. And to get your attention, you know, sometimes it gets to be quite painful. And we can do that with a clear conscience because we all lived through that. Mm-hmm. We all did that, okay? And, you know, it's that old adage, you know, what's good for the goose. Yeah, that was the mindset.
I'm not saying that like it was wrong.
I
that's a compliment to, I think, you know, you always want to push kids and people to where you think they can get to, and like you never really know till you get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where, but that day definitely made that group better, and I think probably a lot of because all those guys contributed afterwards too.
Yeah.
You know, and had good years.
No, I say that story because I tell that story because I feel like it made me
you
a better player, and it made me, you know, when things got rough at West Virginia or we going through some drills, I used to be like, shit, this ain't nothing, man. you guys wasn't there that day I was there. So yeah, and that's when you gave me the speech about, you know, you could be playing with the freshmen, but you know, I think you can help us here. That's when you gave me the speech that day, and I remember I went home, and you called my dad that day. And because I didn't tell my parents about that day, I remember I was just sitting at the table, and you called my house that day to check to see if it was all right. And then all I remember my dad was like saying like, "Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be down there on Monday. He'll be down there tomorrow." so and then that week we played Campbell, who was 10-0. And let me say something real. That schedule we had that year was pretty rough because all those teams that we played that year were. Like Campbell, that was like their first year going 10-0 in a while. They went 10-0 that year. I thought we played them good. We should have won at the end, but they beat us. And I remember you getting on the bus, and you was giving compliments to every player, like, "Hey, you know, get a good job out there." And I think Brian White was the running back because I think Patton was hurt or something. But I remember you telling Brian White, "Hey, we found another running back." And, you know, you just went down the bus, up and down the bus, just giving compliments to the guys. Because, like I said, I mean, it was a tough loss. And then I think we go play Massillon. Now, I thought, now we went down there and we played them tough. I felt like it was a game we let slip away.